Welcome back to Gaelic Games Fan TV. It's the review show. We're going to be looking back at the weekend's Allianz National Football League action. Plenty of talking points, plenty to discuss after a very hectic, very crazy weekend of Gaelic football. 16 games in total to review. We're going to be looking back at some of the madness in Division 1. Kerry and Derry, what a classic that was. Galway, obviously, with a comfortable win versus Mayo. Big wins for the likes of Donegal and Armagh as well. And we will be looking at some of the games across Division 2. Some big kind of talking points there. Division 3 and 4 as well. Joined by Matthew Hurley from the Gaelic Statsman podcast, who is here to help us dissect and review the weekend's action. Matthew, how are you? And I suppose what a brilliant weekend of football. And as the title says, I think Gaelic football might be well and truly back, you know.
Exactly. Yeah. Thanks for having me on again, Aaron. And I suppose there were a few, I would say, negative people about the new rules in the past few weeks. But I think that's been all put to bed now with seeing the Derry and Kerry game. I only saw the highlights now because only back from Newry last night after the Cork and Down game, covering in the media box for the Southern Star. But yeah, having seen the highlights of Derry and Kerry, looked at an unbelievable game, and seeing what Shane Walsh was kicking in the highlights of the Galway Mayo game, that looked a very good game of football as well. Armagh seemed to be finding their feet as well. There were a few negatives that Jim McGuinness talking in the post-match interview about. Maybe the 6th sub needs to come in, maybe a 7th sub needs to come in because it is draining on the players, and we can't forget about that as well. And I will say in the division behind it, with Division 2, there is a lot of topsy-turvy results. There's a lot of high scoring in it as well, which is absolutely great to see. And from early days, it looks like Roscommon look like the real front runners, and then from 2nd Monaghan down to 6th, who I think at the moment is someone like, I think it's Meath, they're 3rd. I'm trying to think who's 6th at the moment. So whoever it is down to 6th, it is tight. Like any side will go up, and it's what makes it interesting. You look at Division 3, Division 4 as well. Some interesting results here and there as well. The new rules have really taken a float. It's very, very hard. I will say this, Aaron, from doing match reports in the last few weeks with Cork games in particular. It is very hard to keep track of all the scores, keep track of all the 2-pointers. And what's notable as well, my app isn't up. The app I use for stats and stuff like that isn't updated yet. Hopefully that'll be updated by the guy that does run it in the next few weeks, so it makes it easier rather than just editing the text on Canva. But look, it is what it is. We can't complain. It's a brilliant game of Gaelic football at the moment. We love to see it, and I do think Gaelic football this weekend trumped the hurling. I know Limerick and Cork was a belter of a game where hits were flying in and stuff like that, but I do think this weekend Gaelic football really trumped hurling. And we're only in the first week of February, only the first 3 days of February, in fact. And we have a few contenders for football game of the year already, and we're only a month or so in. So it's great to see. And I think Jim Gavin and his FRC committee team deserve a lot of credit for bringing in the new rules. Yes, there could be a few tweaks. Like maybe a lot of people will be against having a free as a 2-pointer. That might be eradicated maybe by the end of the league. But other than that, I think it's been a fantastic opening start to the league campaign. We've seen some banging scores. We've seen some shots at an all-time high. We've seen some teams score 20 points. We've seen Kerry score 5 goals yesterday. It's been a brilliant few weeks of Gaelic football, and that may continue.
Yeah, and even when you run through a lot of the score lines, I think the lowest scoring game from the weekend, just looking at them all here, was Limerick against Wexford. So it was Limerick 13, Wexford 17. And I think that was the lowest scoring game from looking at all the different games of it. Leitrim only scored 10 against Clare. Even when you look at it, you look at Louth and Roscommon, Louth put 115 against Roscommon and lost by 2. And that nearly seems low scoring in comparison to a lot of the other games. You look at Monaghan, who scored 229. Westmeath scored 221 and still lost by 8. And even there's a few comments about Mayo there. They scored 16 but still lost by 10. So it's incredible, really. And you would have to say the new rules. I've been a little bit skeptical of them. And I'll be honest, I think so far from what I've seen, I think they've worked really, really well. It's not all perfect, but it's been a lot better than what I thought it was going to be honest with you. And yeah, like you'd have to say, like when it's bringing in the level of entertainment that was in the Kerry and Derry game and some of the other games that were up and down the country, like it's brilliant to see. And I think at this moment in time, we'd all be in favour of keeping it for the championship.
Yeah, exactly. So a lot of people have been hating on the new rules and saying that Ulster football is the only way in eradicating maybe favourites winning and things like that. But we've seen over the weekend, like Wexford beating Limerick in Rathkeale, for example, Division 4. I didn't see that coming. I didn't see Wicklow losing to London over in Ruislip. That was a big shock in my opinion. Like Louth, a lot of people would say, they, including myself, would struggle under the new rules and they struggle to adapt. They only lost to Roscommon team that are rampant at Division 2 at the moment by 2 points. So like there is ways in coming up with new things to try and counteract these new rules and trying to suit your own game. Like you look at Sligo, for example. Sligo were one of the favourites to go up from Division 3. They were very close against Galway in the Connacht Championship last year, brought down to extra time in the semi-final of the Charlton Cup. But yet they are winless in Division 3. Offaly beat them in match day 1, which was considered a shock as well. And Offaly have really excelled. We'll talk about Division 2 in a bit there, but they have some brilliant players like Jack Bryan and Cormac Egan, and they seem to be doing really, really well with the new rules at the moment. And there are good, like Antrim beating Clare match day 1 as well. Like there are some shocks that have gone around, and it does suit a lot of teams. A lot of teams are on zero, like still on 0 points and things like that. Like for example, Mayo, Derry, and all of them, and Westmeath and Cavan in Division 2. But that will take time for them to develop. Like you look at Cavan, for example. Yes, they have been battered in the 2 games that they have played in Division 2, but they've scored 20 points in both games. Like that's mental. You know, it's incredible in its own right, and I do think the new rules have shut a lot of people up in terms of the way Gaelic football was going. We needed a change. We've got some unbelievable games now. Like the Derry and Kerry game. Like take it back to the All-Ireland quarterfinal between the same 2 teams, for example, last year. It was one game where everybody, I'd say the whole island of Ireland, were sent to sleep. Yesterday, when the new rules were brought in, the Kerry and Derry game, they showed what good attacking sides they can be. And it was organised chaos. It was just a brilliant game of football. And we love to see it. We love this new style of Gaelic football. Yes, there are aspects that teams are struggling with in terms of momentum. If a team gets over another team on momentum, even if the team is 6 or 5 or 6 or 7 points down at half time, they can still recover and things like that. That will take getting used to. There are teething problems. There's still going to be teething problems in match day 2. It won't be all ironed out until maybe, I'd say, match day 5, match day 6, if not that, match day 7 or the league finals. So it's going to take time to eradicate the whole kind of wrinkles in terms of Gaelic football. But I do think there are positives when you look at the scorelines in games, when you look at the attacking play of teams as well. Like there are some brilliant scoring tallies. Like you look at Division 2, for example, Pat Haver is top with 19 points after 2 games. Like that's extraordinary kick. He scored 8 points yesterday, 11 against Roscommon. Like you have Mark Cronin on 13 points, Dermot Birch on 13 points, Samuel Roy on 13 points. You're from Dublin himself, Sean Bugler's on 9 points from play at the moment, and that's even without 2-pointers. So there are players that are really excelling under these new rules, and again, like it's a brilliant thing. It's a brilliant time for Gaelic football. But however your team is doing at the moment in terms of struggling or doing well in the divisions at the moment, you cannot argue the new rules are working. They are working to create a better game for everybody, a free-flowing game of Gaelic football as well. And I just love it. I love the new rules of Gaelic football, and I just want them to stay.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and I think, like, from looking at opinion across social media and everything else, and the Sunday game last night as well, I think everyone is in favour of the new rules, and I think rightly so. Look, there definitely will be teething problems. I'm sure there will be things that can be ironed out, but at the moment, I think it's working really, really well. Patrick says Matthew, Cork have improved from last. My County Mayo, hopefully not. Could be going backwards. Yeah, we will get on to that. Patrick also says Dublin are decent, Aaron, but Donegal were better. And yeah, there is plenty of comments flying in there, so appreciate everyone throwing the comments in. James says, hello lads, some high scores this weekend. Great to see. Shame Tyrone were beat, but sure, it's only February. Shane says, my problem with getting rid of the 2-point free is a lot of teams will foul outside the arc a lot more, and a lot of frees will be taken short to work a 2-pointer rather than shooting from the free. I suppose that is a fair point.
It is, yeah. Like, how do you take that kind of thing out of this? Like, it's a tough one, isn't it? Because I see a lot of, even doing scores and stuff like that early on, there's a lot of 2-pointer frees, and it is. And yeah, it has. And Liam was on my podcast the other night as well, and he was saying he loved the new rules as well. It's just it's brilliant for everybody, and I'm sure just from Liam's point of view, he's from Offaly. I'm sure he's loving the new rules at the moment. 2 wins out of 2 in Division 2 or Division 3, should I say? So brilliant attacking play, and the 2 points from a free. It's a hard one to kind of digest because, like, honestly, Aaron, I'll ask you a question. Do you feel there's too much of it, or am I too much 2-pointer from frees?
I don't mind it personally. Like, I do think it's strange with a 45 that you can't, those aren't 2-pointers. It's a little bit silly, that in my opinion, but no, like I think they should go for it. Absolutely. Do you know what I mean? I think it's absolutely great to see, and if teams are, working the ball to try and create a 2-pointer, I think it does make sense as well. So no, I think at this moment of time, it's worked very, very well. The concern for me will just be when we get to provincial championships and you've Dublin playing the likes of Longford or Kerry playing the likes of Tipperary, which I've mentioned previously. Like, obviously those games were always one-sided. They might be a bit more one-sided now. So that was always a little bit of my concern. But at the same time, I think changing the rules and, even if you left the rules the way they were, it wouldn't really fix them. But there could be the argument the other way as well, which I understand.
Yeah, is there an argument though that there are some players that are suited to the rules? Like you mentioned Tipperary with coming up against Kerry and Munster there. A player that popped into my mind, 2 players actually, Mark Russell and Sean O'Connor, 2 players that are really scoring in Division 4. Like Mark Russell scored a winning 2-pointer for the other day, and he's really excelling in the 2-point zone. The last time I seen him play for Tipperary actually was the league final in Division 4 a few years ago against Cavan, and he was exceptional in Croke Park. So there could be an argument there that players for Division 4, Division 3, there could be individual players there that the new rules will suit down to a T, and you could just get the ball to them and they'll kick over the bar for a 2-pointer. Like take Down, for example. Like Pat Haverin is a weapon now when it comes to 2-pointers. I see it firsthand yesterday. Like, if you get Pat Haver to take a free outside the arc for 40-meter free, it's an instant 2-pointer. You could just note it down. Like, he is so accurate when it comes to taking those sorts of frees. So there are going to be teams there that will pinpoint players, forwards, midfielders, whatever, in their own starting teams and say, this guy's good under the new rules. We need this guy to excel against the big sides for Division 1, for example. So it could be an avenue too that Division 4, Division 3 could take.
Absolutely, yeah. God is in the details there, says Solo. And Go has most potential. Cynical fouls around 60 on a team. Counter can lead to more goals. Yeah, it just keeps the game moving. It keeps the game moving, and it does stop that kind of, when a foul is called and then the teams would kick it backwards and then sort of recycle the ball, and it would slow to kind of kill attack. So yeah, no, I completely agree. Sean says Gaelic football is slowly becoming more like hurling with a faster pace and more momentum. Patrick says new rules are good, but I think it really marks the end of the good Mayo years. Don't think we will be there for the business end. Yeah, we'll get onto Mayo in a few. And Colleen says here, my concern would be injuries later on in the year. Could be a point with the intensity of how intense that the games are. We'll obviously have to wait and see. I'm not an expert on that, in fairness, but look, we'll dive into the weekend's games, and there is no better place to start with Derry versus Kerry. Derry 124, Kerry 515. Derry will be kicking themselves because they conceded 2 late goals from Paul Ganey and Donald O'Sullivan, and they were more than in control of this game for large parts, really. And you felt like Derry should have came away with this with the 2 points. But Kerry, to be fair, scoring 3-2 from their bench, which is very, very impressive. You have Conor Gainey, who scored 2-2 as well. I thought Barry Dan O'Sullivan had a very good game for Kerry in around the middle. So, I mean, good win in the end for Kerry. I think for Derry, there will be positives they can take from this game as well in comparison to maybe some of their other defeats. But, I mean, like, this was just, I mean, it was an incredible game to watch, to be honest.
It was unreal. Obviously didn't have the privilege to watch this game because I was up in Derry, but like, it seemed like from watching the highlights, it was just an incredible game of Gaelic football. You have to give credit for Derry. Like I said during the week, the performance against Tyrone was concerning, and the stuff that happened with Paddy Tally in the off season as well. The fact they haven't won a game outright, championship or league, since only one game since the start of April. That was the game against Westmeath in Newry. That was a difficult, that was even a difficult game for Derry. So they were under a lot of pressure to deliver in this one, and they did all but win in there. It was a really good performance from Derry. Shane McGuigan showed his class up at the forward line with some brilliant score, brilliant shot taking. Brendan Rodgers is a real weapon under the 2-pointer as well. Conor Glass is really excelling in midfield, and they seem to be doing well, Derry, up until the flurry of goals came from this Kerry side. And you have to give Kerry a lot of credit as well. They didn't play at their best. They were travelling up to Ulster as well, which is notoriously considered a loss for this Kerry side, who don't normally do well against Ulster sides. But to score 5 goals without David Clifford in the team you have to give credit to them. You have to take your hats off to them. That is an incredible stat to take. It really is. And without Paulie Clifford as well, I don't think he played any part in this one either. So yeah, it was a really, really good performance, especially in the last few minutes from Kerry. Some people may argue they got out of jail, but that goal scoring instinct without your best player on the team is just something brilliant to have. Like, yeah, Paul Gainey coming off the bench and getting 2 goals. Donald O'Sullivan really performing well with 1-2 as well. Conor Gainey really excelled yesterday. He did really, really well. And he hasn't really stamped his claim on the Kerry side over the last few seasons. To get 2-2 from play yesterday, he has definitely said to Jack O'Connor, he's put his hand up and said, I'm ready for the starting team, especially with the likes of Stephen O'Brien retiring and Meod Burns. I know Meod Burns has gone back into training, but with him stepping away last season and not necessarily getting inter-county sharpness, maybe it's a time for Conor Gainey to step up. And he has stepped up for Dingle. The question mark was, would he step up at inter-county level for Kerry? So very good performance from both. Well, I would say a very good performance from Derry, a good performance from Kerry, but to get that goal-scoring instinct in them without Clifford and the team is a brilliant asset to have. And it was just a brilliant game of football. It was free-flowing, goals galore. Like, imagine from a Derry point of view scoring 124 and still losing the game. It's gut-wrenching in a way. Then again, it's only the league, so would they care that much? Maybe not. But I think in terms of the relegation battle, which I thought Derry would be in at the start of the year, if I'm honest with you, I think they have shown in this game that they're up for the fight. They're up for the fight and staying up in Division 1. They will get a win if they perform like that in the next few weeks. I've much more belief in Derry than I do in Mayo, for example. And yeah, I think Derry will do well if they perform like that in the next few weeks. But that's the challenge and backing it up for this Derry side. And there are positives, a lot of positives for Paddy Tally to take. For Kerry, first win on the board, first game on the board. It's a win-win. It's a really, really good situation to be in from a Kerry point of view, going into the Donegal game in Fitzgerald Stadium next week. And yeah, to get 5 goals is super. And even to fight back into the game, which it looked lost for Kerry, they deserve a lot of credit for coming back into that game.
Absolutely, yeah. And Nerb says here, it is still the bad weather months. So I'd say the summer months could see higher scoring games. Very positive game so far. Yeah, it's a fair point. Like, usually at the start of the league, it's when they kind of to be low scoring and a bit of shadow boxing and whatnot. But there doesn't even seem to be much of that at the moment, which is great in fairness. Shane says, yesterday showed how good Kerry can be, even without David. I think the 2 Gainies are going to have good years, and hopefully will both start come championship. Shane also says, I'd love our starting 6 forwards for the championship to be Paddy, Shawnee, Tony, Brosnan, Conor Gainey, David, and Dylan Gainey. There we go. Yeah, I mean, like, a lot of positive signs, as you said, from Derry. I mean, I think they will be a little bit concerned, probably how they're finishing games is what I would say. They finished, like, you know, when you look at their match versus Tyrone, I thought they were good enough for large parts at the start of the game, in and around the middle, but it was at the end where it sort of really got away from them. And it was similar again in this game. And Derry as well, they've only actually won one of their last 7 now, when we're looking at games in normal time, and that was versus Westmeath. So, like, albeit, look, they are improving and everything else, and they're playing good stuff. But when we think of Derry, we think of how good Derry used to be defensively in terms of not conceding goals. They've conceded 7 now in 2 matches. They conceded a lot last year as well. So obviously with these new rules, look, it's probably harder to defend these type of goals and these type of chances. But for Derry, is that maybe a bit of a concern, and that's something probably they do need to work on in the next couple of weeks?
Or noting they conceded 4 against Donegal under the old rules last year, and Donegal really ripped them asunder that day. So that is a concern for Derry, and especially with Chrissy McCaig retiring in the off season, a lot of players have to step up in the back line there. Like you look at Owen McAvoy, Conor McCluskey in particular. Those are the guys that have been around the block for a year or two under the good Derry years. So they really need to step up. There's no doubt about it. They started with Dermot Barker yesterday, or Dermot Baker, should I say. Conor Doherty, Jonathan Gilmore, the Conor Doherty didn't score amazingly yesterday, but he is capable of getting a score or 2. So is Jonathan Gilmore, got 2 yesterday against Kerry. But they need to start defending better. And conceding 5 goals, especially 3 in the last 10 minutes or so, is concerning. It really is. You have to give credit to Kerry. They snuffed a chance to get the goals, and they got them, in fairness to them. But I think Derry need to brush up on a few defensive issues there. And there are still positives for Derry. Like Anton Tohol, from the highlights I've seen anyway, he looked like a marauding presence in midfield, and he really is a great addition to the Derry team. So is Conor Glass. Moving Brendan Rodgers to centre-back, actually, and getting him gallivanting up the field, I think, is a masterstroke in a way from Paddy Tally. Paul Cassidy performed well at stage. Ethan Doherty's a good link player in the half-forward line as well. So there are positives from Derry in attacking night, and to score 124 is a brilliant feat. But defensively, as you mentioned there, 5 goals against Kerry, 4 goals against Donegal last year, 3 against Armagh last year as well under the old rules. They conceded a sloppy penalty against Mayo in the preliminary quarter-final as well last season. There are negatives there in the defensive line for Derry, and especially with Chrissy stepping away, like a marauding presence in the back line, an experienced, talented player. The guy is going to be a loss. So the likes of Owen McAvoy and Dermot Baker have to really step up. There's no doubt about it from that. And when Conor McCluskey does eventually come back into the team, he has to step up as well. But then again, it's the league. It might be early days. There's loads of time for Paddy Tally to sort these niggly things out up until when the Ulster Championship starts. So I think that would be Derry's major concern in sorting out the defence. If they could do that, they still will be a serious team. They showed yesterday that they have attacking talent, and they showed it in spades. So the key thing is for them is to show up solid in the defensive structure, and if they could do that, the sky's the limit.
Absolutely, yeah. Shane says here as well, I think Jeremy O'Connor was superb yesterday, especially from the 15th minute. Glass had the better of him for the first quarter, but once he settled, I thought he got a foothold around the middle. Yeah, no, he was absolutely brilliant as well, in fairness, and it was a very, very good win for the Kingdom. Moving on from that, we had Armagh against Tyrone. Armagh 123, Tyrone 18 points, an 8-point win in the end for Armagh. Probably could have been more. Tyrone tagged on a few scores towards the end to make it a little bit more of a respectable scoreline. It was actually, I think, 114 to 3 or 4 points or something like that at halftime. Like, this was a bit of a domination, a bit of a demolition, or a humbling, as I've called it here. So yeah, very, very good performance from Armagh. And I suppose for Tyrone, they have had a lot of inconsistencies in the last couple of seasons. If this game's a one-off, I don't think they'll be too worried about it. But at the same time, it is those inconsistencies that they've struggled with in the last couple of seasons, which might concern them a little bit here.
They may have been cockholes, to be honest with you, out of this game Tyrone, because a lot of the narrative around the week, including my own podcast and Seamus's podcast as well, was Armagh looked pretty pretty bad, I would say, against Galway last week. And Galway beat them pretty comprehensively by 112 to 9 points. And that was concerning from an Armagh point of view. Added on to the fact that Colin Parkinson said the stuff about Rian O'Neill in the tweet, and added on to the stuff that happened in the States in the off-season, it was concerning for Armagh. Maybe the noise got to Tyrone and they were thinking, okay, we might ease through this game and go on to match day 3 in a good fettle. Armagh shut them up. For the first minute, they shut them up in the first half. 114 to 3 points, as you mentioned. Like, they were so dominant in that first half display. And I just think for this Tyrone crop of players with Malachy O'Rourke, I think it was a blip. I think it was a blip. And once Dara and Rory do come back into the team, Peter Hart, Joe Goose, once those sort of dominating figures come back into the team, we will see a better Tyrone. This is a learning curve. Like, we've seen it over the last few years with Tyrone under new management. They kind of get a bit of a negative in the first few rounds of the league, and then as the year goes on, they start to build momentum a small bit. This might be the same kind of scenario. As a Tyrone fan, I wouldn't panic about this result too much. I would panic about the manner in which they were losing at half-time, though. That was a big score to ship, really. 14 points in the first half alone. Although Ethan Rafferty deserves a lot of credit for scoring all them 2-pointers. Aidan Farker scored a beauty as well. And Andrew Merlin scored 1-4 on the night. A very good display from him off the play. So, from a Tyrone point of view, I wouldn't see it as an absolute disaster. There's still time to recover. We're only match day 2 with the league, and they performed well in the first day against Derry, so there is still a lot to improve on. And added on to the fact they still have the Errigal boys to come back, I still think Tyrone are in a decent enough position. As for Armagh, they showed why they're All-Ireland champions on Saturday evening. Like, that was a brilliant display by them, especially in the first half. They just had to, ease it up in the second half and just quieten it down a small bit, and they did that, to be fair to them. But yeah, it was a good display from Armagh. Some good attacking play for the likes of Andrew Merlin and Jamar Hall got a point on the board. Oshie Connaughton was very good in link-up play. Ross McGuinness was very good around the middle third. So very good display from an Armagh point of view. Not so great from Tyrone point of view, but still early days. We'll have to see what Armagh are like in match day 3. Have they really turned the corner after all the stuff that's going on off the pitch? As for Tyrone, I wouldn't panic just yet. There is a bit of concern after the first half display, but I have just the feeling, Aaron, I think that might be just a blip for Malachy O'Rourke's side.
Yeah, Killen says here as well, nice to see some new faces in the Armagh squad. Yeah, absolutely. Like Darren McMullen, I thought was very good. Ross McQuillan, who has been on the fringes the last couple of years, but he scored 3 points, and he was very, very impressive. And Greg McCabe as well was very, very good for Armagh as well. So, yeah, they'll take a lot of positives from the new players coming in, because I think we know, obviously, with Armagh, when they have their best starting 15 available, they are one of the best teams in the country, if not the best team in the country, as they proved last year. You add a couple more players into that team, and they could be even stronger. Who knows? So, yeah, very, very good performance there from Armagh. And as you said with Tyrone, a few concerns, they were a little bit one-dimensional, I felt, in the first half. I know there was a bit of a breeze that they were playing, that they had to play against. But I thought they were running the ball too much and they weren't taking enough risks, and it just suited Armagh down to the ground, really, to play that type of football. But as you said there, or as I said with Armagh, some of the new players coming in, positive signs there for the Orchard.
It was, yeah, and especially with the off the pitch noise, I would say. It was a positive that they bounced back with a good win like this, and a dominating display as well, especially in that first half. It was kind of like everybody was criticising them during the week. Let's shut the media up here, and they did. It was a brilliant display in the first half, and as the commentator mentioned there was a lot of new players that came in and had some positive displays, even at cornerback Tomas McCormick. I know he got a yellow card, but he got a point as well, which was a very good performance from his point of view. And to be honest, they didn't really have to exert themselves in the second half, which is again a positive, especially when they have a week off as well. They can go into match day 3 under a good light, in fairness to them. And yeah, Greg McCabe coming back to the team performed well. Ben Creedy around the middle of the park performed well as well. Darren McMullen, as you mentioned, performed well at wing forward. So there is positives today from an Armagh point of view, and especially after that first half display, it just shows the danger that they do have in the forward line, and the danger that they do have danger coming from deep as well in defence. The likes of Kieran Macken, or Conor Macken, should I say, in Cork, or Barry McCambridge. I know Conor Turbitt, actually, he was named to start a cornerback, but he wasn't starting a cornerback, and he got 4 points in the night. Very good display from him, and yeah, just a good display from Armagh across the board, and yeah, good play.
Absolutely. Yeah, running on to the Mayo match. So it was Mayo 16 points, Galway 26. Very comfortable 10-point win in the end for Galway. There was a few comments here that came in earlier. Sean says Mayo have been in transition for the last 3 years, with so many of the team from the 2010s have left the panel, with a lot of new guys on the panel. And Patrick says, as a Mayo fan, 2025 is going to be a rough year. I had hopes we would win Connacht this year. That's out the window now. Didn't agree with people saying we would get relegated 2 weeks ago. I agree now. Yeah, like I think just from like looking at Mayo the last couple of years, they've never looked like they've evolved their game. They never look like it's always just been the same kind of way of playing. And like, I don't know if that is down to management or what it is. Under James Horan, I think they were a little bit more explosive. They were a little bit more chaotic, which made things a little bit better. But they just look like a team who would struggle, in my opinion, from these new rules. And that, you'd have to say at this moment in time, has definitely proved to be the case. Like in the first half of this game, I thought they were all right. And we do have to commend Galway. Like, they were absolutely brilliant, especially in the second half. But the second half performance, I think, especially for a Mayo team at home in McHale Park, would have been very worrying. Like, they scored, I think, 7 points in the second half, and I think 4 of them actually came after the 70th minute. So, I mean, worrying times for Mayo, but look, you have to commend Galway as well, because in terms of teams exploiting the new rules, they were very, very good at that on Sunday.
Yeah, Galway are in a very good fettle at the moment, and they look to be probably the most consistent team in the country. Look at the new rules so far. I know Donegal will get onto them later. They've only played 1 game, so we'll see them against Kerry in action next week, and Kerry indeed. But Galway so far have looked really, really good. Like Paul Flynn mentioned on League Sunday last night, that they have the panel now to pick from, which is a good sign. They didn't have that last season. They didn't have the options. Like, they're building options now. Walsh is excelling as usual, but Cillian O'Curreen has done really well in the first 2 games. So has Paul Conroy, really excelled under the new rules as well. Sam O'Neill didn't score yesterday, but still contributed well to the Galway forward line as well. Like Dylan McHugh did very well for Daniel O'Flaherty's a really good player. I know he was a good find a few seasons ago, not necessarily a find this season, but in terms of starting, he's done really, really well at cornerback. Rob Finnerty even came on and got a couple of points, which was a good sign for him in his long recovery. That was a tough injury to take from the Armagh game last season. And yeah, they're building a panel now. We have the likes of Matthew Tierney, Carl Sweeney, Johnny Heaney, Liam O'Keneal, Colin Costello, all of Kieran Malloy, Jack Lynn, all on the bench for Galway, and they're really, really building a panel, and they're really excelling under the new rules. So Power Joyce has been deserved a lot of credit. And see the bit with Shane Walsh as well on the trope. Like, Shane Walsh was asked against the midfielder. He ran in after Galway won the ball in the middle and got an instant 2-pointer. Like, that's Galway to a T under the new rules. They're finding ways to topple opposition under these new rules, and they deserve a lot of credit for that. As for Mayo, look, first of all, from a Mayo point of view, I have to give a lot of credit to Paul Towie. 5 points from play yesterday and a couple of points from play against Dublin as well. He's really, really done well in the first 2 weeks under the new rules, and he may be a player to watch in the next few weeks for Mayo. But overall, like, it was just, I would say it was flat from a Mayo point of view. Like, Frank Irwin had some good sparks, so did David Neary at stages, Conor Reid as well. But like, I don't know about this Mayo team. I think Kevin McStay looks like a guy that is under pressure. In post-match interviews anyway, he looks like a guy that it really is struggling to get a tune out of this Mayo team. Like, the first 2 seasons, there was a huge bounce off them, especially the first season. They looked like all our contenders at a stage. In that season in 2023, that they looked really, really good. 24, they looked good at stage, just couldn't close out games. And now this season, they probably look the worst that they've ever done under McStay. And it's going to be a tough turnaround. I know Aidan O'Shea is going to return from his honeymoon soon. So he might bring in an oomph into this team. But I said it to you in the off-season, Aaron, and a lot of people have said, oh, they don't start and things like that. don't care. Pádraig O'Hora and Cillian O'Connor are big losses in the dressing room, because those are the guys that would pick these young Mayo players up when they're down. They're clearly down now. Now you wonder in the squad, who's going to pick these guys up? Because these players, yes, they've been in underage teams and stuff like that, but they haven't been at a low point as they are now in the league. Like Dublin, okay, they beat them by 2 points. That was a tough defeat to take in Croke Park. But against your rivals, to lose by 10 points, I know Galway were very impressive and taking nothing away from them. But to lose by 10 points at home to your closest rivals, that is concerning. And Kevin McStay needs to turn it around sooner rather than later. And I feel like if Cillian O'Connor and Pádraig O'Hora and Aidan O'Shea, he will be back soon. But if those 3 players in particular were there yesterday in terms of the dressing room and in terms of the bus home and things like that, that counts for a lot. And I've been part of backroom teams and stuff like that in SARS, like, so I know, like, to have experienced guys around the dressing room, on the bus home, on the pitch itself, it definitely serves to the younger players coming up. Like, the younger players may have good qualities, the likes of Paul Towie, Frank Irwin, they do have good qualities among them, but you need those older lads to make you step up even more and to grab you by the scruff of the neck when things are going wrong. And things are going wrong for this Mayo team. They need to be picked up. I'm not sure they'll be picked up by the end of this league campaign, though. It's unfortunate for Mayo, but look, it looks pretty bad for them. I can't see how they survive, to be honest with you. Even the fact that Derry performed well yesterday against Kerry, it's concerning from a Mayo point of view. I just don't know how they're going to pick themselves up from this.
Yeah, Sean says here, Austin O'Malley for Mayo next year. Yeah, look, I mean, he obviously done an incredible job with Cooley. He certainly would be the man. I think everybody would look towards. Patrick says, I think this could get ugly. McStay might not even get to the championship. They just haven't evolved over the last couple of years. And when you look at it, like, have Mayo actually become a better team since McStay has come in, which we all expected? They had that moment where they won the league title, obviously, as you said, in 2023, and they had that, like, initial bounce. But since then, it just hasn't worked. Like, they had a very poor championship that year. In 2024, they had some bright sparks, but again, it was kind of more of the same thing. And they just seem to be, like, lacking quality players as well. Like, I don't think Aidan O'Shea coming in solves Mayo. Do you know what I mean? I don't think it fixes all of their problems. He makes them better, most certainly, and he'll, free up space for other players, but I don't think he'll be the man overall, in my opinion. Mikey says McStay and Rochford need to go. No excuse for not changing the approach to the new rules. And Luke says Andy Moran holding out for the Mayo job next year. Look, I mean, he'd certainly be in the conversation, but yeah, concerning times for Mayo, it must be said.
It is, yeah. And again, I don't know how they're going to pick themselves up for this, even in the championship in the comment. I disagree with the comment there about McStay not making it to the championship. I think he's had enough credit in the bank, to be fair to him, in the last few seasons, to make it to the championship this season. But I think they have to get to at least an All-Ireland semi-final this year for McStay to have a successful campaign. If they don't do that, I think he's gone. Simply, which is sad, because I remember that season in 23, they looked really, really good, not just in the league. They beat Kerry in Killarney in that championship as well. And I was at that game. They looked really electric that day. It's just a shame from their point of view. And I think I would don't want to bring Cork into it too much, but like, ever since that Cork game in the Gaelic grounds, like, it hasn't really picked up for Mayo, has it? It really hasn't. Like, even in that same, I know they got an initial bounce back against Galway when they beat them in Pure Stadium that season, but then they got absolutely slaughtered by Dublin and Croke Park. And if they haven't picked themselves up really from that moment on, and one of the comments actually that said there about the new rules, that McStay and Rochford haven't evolved under the new rules, it's kind of true to a point as well. And there's a lot of questions to be asked about that. So yeah, it's concerning times for Mayo. I don't see how they survive in Division 1. I think, to be honest, even after match day 2, I think they're already gone, to be honest with you. So it's just about building somewhat of a bit of confidence towards championship, if there is any. Like, it's going to be a rough year, I think, for Mayo. I agree with a lot of the comments there. And yeah, I don't know how Mayo picked themselves up for this. In terms of a man, I think McStay will probably go by the end of the season. I think Austin O'Malley's the right man for us. Like, he rose cool up from the Ashes, won the Dublin Championship, Leinster and All-Ireland, their first ever in each of the 3 competitions in the club's history. He deserves a lot of credit in the bank for that. I think he probably will be the front runner for the Mayo job. Andy Moran is a Mayo legend. I'm not discounting that, but I'm saying with Andy Moran, look, it could end up like a situation over in soccer, for example, when Frank Lampard took over as Chelsea manager and didn't really materialise. You know, it could end up like that. And did he do enough of a good job in Leitrim to get credit in the bank for a Mayo job? In my opinion, I don't think he did. So I think Austin O'Malley is the right man to take over from Kevin McStay at the end of the season for the Mayo job.
Yeah, no, I think Andy Moran would be a great man to bring in to be part of the backroom team or something like that. But I don't think he should be the number 1 choice for Mayo right now, in my opinion anyway. But there we go. Sean says Mayo are always found out against the blanket. Even now, they struggle more than most to break down teams. And Patrick says it'd probably be James Horan. Like James Horan for a 3rd time. That would be interesting. But it would feel like going in circles a little bit. But at the same time, look, I do think he did a very good job with Mayo. I know he didn't get you over the promised land, but he was, alongside Rochford, the closest to get you over the line. So you would understand it. But there we go. Donegal beat Dublin 20 points to 16, 4-point win for Donegal. It probably wasn't the best game, to be honest, which I know it finished quite high scoring in the end. But in terms of the competitiveness, I think Donegal always had Dublin at arm's length. Dublin showed some positive signs in the second half to drag the game back. As you said, Sean Bugler again was very, very impressive, and he had some bright sparks. So did Colin Basquel, but overall for Donegal, comfortable enough in the end, you would say here.
Comfortable, yeah, but I don't think, again, like we said about Dublin after the Mayo game last week, I don't think they're necessarily in a bad situation. I know Mick Fitzsimons, there was that interview with Dessie Farrell at the end, and he all but confirmed Mick Fitzsimons leaving the panel. But that is another opportunity for the likes of Theo Clancy to step up in my eyes. Yeah. Like Mick Fitzsimons performed well for Coola in the club championship and for Dublin down through the years, but Theo Clancy getting a regular start in the team now for the league would build up his confidence for the championship. And we both know Theo Clancy for Kilmacud Crokes has been probably one of the best fullbacks at club level down through the seasons. Like Brian Howard, the starting at wing back, performed okay. Greg Bacanini has performed well in terms of scoring. So has Killian McGuinness, got 2 points the other night. Bugler, as you mentioned there, very good display again. Colin Basquel getting 3 points, like that's a positive for him. To get back up in the horse from his point of view, because to be honest, after the 2023 campaign where he kind of burst onto the scene in terms of being one of the best footballers in the country, 2024 was a bit of a dip year for Colin Basquel's standards. So it's great to see him getting a bit more confidence. But as for Donegal, look, Darragh Boyle was exceptional in that first half. 2 pointers. 6 points overall, like very good display from him. Paddy McBrearty, he performed well off the bench as well. Oisin Gallen performed well. And Donegal, look, it's a dangerous side, but even Jim McGuinness, we thought he'd be revolutionised in some aspects of these new rules, but he's finding it difficult to come to terms with these new rules to an extent. He was talking about it in the post-match interview there. So look, it's a learning curve for everybody in terms of the new rules. Maybe we expected too much out of McGuinness there. But there are players, the likes of Michael Lang, Patrick Morgan, Shane O'Donnell, like there are players from a Donegal point of view that really will excel under the new rules. In terms of the 2-pointer, in terms of the great attack he plays, in terms of solo goal, they really, really excel from that. And I think Donegal will be a team to watch throughout the season. Just on the side note as well, interesting that McGuinness mentioned Patrick Morgan. Like Patrick Morgan, I think this is obvious. He's one of the most, has the greatest engine in the Donegal team. But he was even wrecked coming off the pitch on Saturday evening around the McGuinness. So it does show you, going back to the rules, that it does take a lot out of the players, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, absolutely it does. Like, because it is, previously where you could play the kick out short, the game would slow down a lot more. Now, I do think that kind of thing can cause injuries as well. Like that kind of stop-start kind of nature can definitely cause a lot of injury problems there as well. But like it probably is something to consider, especially when you have so many games as well. But maybe with pre-season competitions gone, at least that might have freed things up a little bit for some of these players. In fairness, but yeah, as you were saying, like there were some positive signs for Dublin. I don't think it's complete. I don't think it's panic stations necessarily. I think we play Kerry next away. Look, that will be all, going to Kerry, even when we have all our best players, is always going to be very difficult. So I'm not really looking too much at that, but I would look at the game after that at home to Derry, which could be huge, because who knows where Derry's situation is. If we can win that, then I think we should be okay. But look, we'll wait and see what happens until then. Moving on to Division 2, you had Down 119, Cork 215. I suppose it was all looking rosy in the garden for Cork at a certain point. They were, I think, 5 up or something of that nature, but in the end, Down came roaring back to win at the end, with Pat Haver and Danny McGill getting a crucial goal there. Your thoughts on this?
Yeah, look, it's disappointing from a Cork point of view. As I said to you off air, look, it's a difficult defeat to take, I would say, for the players and John Cleary himself. But look, there were some positive signs from a Cork point of view. Number one, I think goal chances. We missed so many goal chances last season, and we just weren't confident enough in front of the post. We scored now 4 goals in 2 games, including 2 yesterday from Chris Oak-Jones, and Sean McDonald took a brilliant goal for the second goal yesterday in Newry. So there are positives in terms of that, in goal taking. I think we have more of an attacking outlet in this team as well. Yes, we had a low number of shots again yesterday, but that will come in time, that we will get more shots. There are positives. I've seen it in 2 games now. There are positives in this Cork team. Sean Walsh from Mitchelstown performed again well enough in midfield alongside Colin O'Callaghan yesterday. And Brian Hearn and Ian Maguire might come back for match day 3 against Westmeath, which is a positive sign, because we need those kind of experienced players to drive on the youth players, especially with the stuff that went on in the off season. To get 1 win out of 2 and to lose the game that we did by a point, by a 2-pointer, last minute 2-pointer by Pat Haver, I think it's a positive. Look, there are some aspects of the game where Cork need to improve on, especially conceding 30 shots yesterday, conceding 40 against Meath. The kickouts, we've lost under 50% of our long kickouts in the last 2 games, both against Down and Meath, which is a negative. But John Cleary will come up with a solution to that, I'm sure. With Ian Maguire coming back to the team, it might get the team improving on kick-out time as well. And it just shows you yesterday, like, the game could flick in a switch now under these new rules, because we were 4 points up going into the last few minutes, and Paul Walsh was going in on goal. He was going to take the opportunity to shoot, and he was penalised for barging a down defender. Now, John Cleary said in the post-match interview to C103 afterwards that it was a harsh call. He thought, and even myself looking up in the media box, I thought it was a bit of a harsh call as well. But it was given. Down then solo the goal. They went up to the other end of the pitch. 30 seconds later, the ball is in our net with Danny McGill kicking the ball into the net. Very good counter-attack goal for Down. But yeah, that just shows you the game could flick in a switch like that. And Pat Haver scores a 2-pointer, and suddenly then we're a point down. We had a chance to win it. Brian O'Driscoll had a chance for outside the arc to get the winner at the end of it, but unfortunately the shot just drifted wide, and we ended up losing by a point in the end, which will frustrate John and will frustrate the panel, I'm sure. But look, I'm not too negative about this, considering we do have Westmeath next. I think a game in Páirc Uí Chaoimh against Westmeath, with the greatest respect to that Westmeath team, is a winnable game. I think we should be going out and winning that game. And the way the fixtures are falling, actually, Monaghan are facing Roscommon in match day 3. If Roscommon were to beat Monaghan, that game is in Dr. Hyde Park, and Cork were to beat Westmeath as expected, Cork and Monaghan will both be on 4 points, and then match day 4 we face Monaghan and Clonus. So look, there's still positives. I still think Division 2 is wide open. Anybody could beat anybody. So there are still bright shoots from the Cork team. Disappointed to lose yesterday. Down performed well in the second half. They deserved their victory yesterday, especially after performing. Like, the thing is with Down is pretty weird. Like, the first half, Cork were probably the much better team in the first half. And similarly in the first game for Down, Roscommon were the much better team in the second half. But Down seemed to perform well in one half of football and then kind of fall asleep in the other half. That may be a concern for Conor Laverty in future games. But they got the win yesterday. Really good win from their point of view. Pat Haver, as I mentioned at the start of the show, is a weapon under these new rules in terms of the 2-point arc. But both these sides will be in the promotion conversation. I do think in the next few weeks there are still some bright shoots in both sides. And it's disappointing from a Cork point of view. Well done to Down, but But look, I'm still positive about Cork. We're in a better situation than we were last season, I'll put it that way. Like, we aren't on 0 points, we're on 2 points. There's still positives to take. They'll move on to the next game now, but look, it was disappointing, but I wouldn't say it's an absolute disaster. Look, we got a win against Meath, a good beat side as well in Parky Keefe. So yeah, there's some positives to take, but ultimately it is a defeat, and it was a disappointing result. But in terms of performance, I think there are still some positives to take.
Yeah, absolutely. It did feel like a bit of a decider as well, like, and it could be a bit of a decider maybe when it comes down to, as you said, with the fact that, you know, promotion. I mean, obviously we'll get onto Monaghan and Roscommon in a moment, but like, it does feel like that 2-pointer from Pat Haver at the end, you know, it might be the difference potentially between Down getting promoted, maybe you missing out. So I mean, and as you said, like, the ending with Brian O'Driscoll missing the chances, and you know, the kind of goal chance you had just a little bit before that as well. So it does feel like that 2-pointer, like, that could be significant maybe when it comes to it at the end of this league campaign.
Maybe so, yeah. But then, as I mentioned before, we've Westmeath next. We then have Monaghan on match day 4. Like, this Division 2 campaign is so topsy-turvy in the fact that Monaghan within 2 weeks could be sailing. They're sailing right now under 4 points. But then, in the flick of a switch, they could lose to Roscommon, and then Cork could shock them in Clonus. Like, you never know with Division 2. It really is an open division. And Cork showed yesterday that they can compete with Down are a good side. I will stress this, Down are a very good side, and they were going to be a difficult team to beat as well. So, and a lot of people are mentioning Louth in being in the promotion conversation, which they are, but Cork have them at home this year. They have them in Parky Keefe. So it might be one that might push Cork over the line against Louth this time around. So we'll have to see in the next few weeks. But as I said before, Division 2 is a topsy-turvy division. So we'll have to see in the next few weeks. But I'm relatively positive about Cork, but I think Westmeath is a paramount that we have to win that game, especially being at home. Westmeath on 0 points at the moment. We have to go ahead and win that game. It is a winnable game. Yeah, we'll see in the next few weeks where we are, and I'm sure the players and the management will take it as they come. But there are some positive shoots, including the take your goal chances. But yeah, like, it could be a decider, the Pat Haver 2-pointer. But I wouldn't go as far as saying that just yet. There's a lot of football to be played in the next few weeks, and it's important to stress that.
Yeah, we've got plenty of people tuning in, leaving comments and everything else. So if you could hit the like button, helps the channel out, helps it grow and get seen by more people. So that would be much appreciated. And if you could subscribe if you haven't already, that'd be absolutely brilliant. Luke says, I expect Westmeath to get a scalp off somebody. They're not as bad as people are saying. Yeah, that is an interesting one. And when we'll look at that game next, it was Monaghan 229, Westmeath 221. Like, Monaghan got a goal at the end from Jack McCarron and a couple of 2-pointers in the last kind of 10-15 minutes or so to pull this game away. But there were moments in this match, I remember, from keeping an eye on the Score BO app and everything else, that Westmeath looked like maybe they might be able to pull something off here. They finished with 221 in the end, which is quite a high amount. So look, it's a strange one. It's an 8-point defeat, which you would say, should be comfortable enough for Monaghan, but by all accounts, from what I've heard, this was actually probably a lot closer than what people had anticipated.
Yeah, and I suppose the main kind of scorer threat for Westmeath is Luke Loughlin. He's now got 22 points in 2 games, 12 points in the first day against Louth and 10 points yesterday against Monaghan. He's really excelled under the new rules, and he is a positive for Westmeath, especially with the likes of John Heston and Ronan O'Toole stepping away. Look, it was all about Monaghan getting out and getting a win in this game. Jack McCarron scored a goal late, as you mentioned there, the 18 minutes according to Score BO app there. But yeah, Monaghan would just be happy about the win, just getting over the line. There are players stepping up, the likes of Stephen Mooney and David Garland, youngsters that are really stepping up to the plate. Conor McCarthy, wing back, scored 7 points, all from 1-pointers, which is incredible in its own right. Roy McInnesby got 2 points as well. Positive. Ryan O'Toole got a goal. Rory Began is really doing well under the new rules in terms of points kicking. So yeah, I think Monaghan are in a positive state at the moment, but they have played 2 sides that are currently on 0 points at the moment in Westmeath and Cavan. So the big test for them will come up in the next few weeks. They've Roscommon in match day 3 and then Cork at home in match day 4. If they go ahead and get 2 or 3 points out of those next 2 games, I would say they're a serious team in going up back up to Division 1. But I'd hold the horses just yet and say Monaghan are going to be easy promotion contenders. Anything can happen, as I mentioned earlier, in Division 2. It's not a closed shop just yet. And as for Westmeath, look, they'll take positives, but it's 2 defeats, and they have to get a win sooner rather than later just to get the confidence up. In terms of a slap, what the comment is saying there, I think our home game would be probably the realistic option for Westmeath in getting a scalp here or there. So we'll have to see in the next few weeks. They might get a scalp in Páirc Uí Chaoimh in the next few weeks. It'd probably be not a great result from Cork's point of view. But look, we'll have to see with Westmeath. There are positive shoots. 221 in this game. They scored, I think, 18 points the first game against Louth. So positives. There are positives from Westmeath point of view. They are just getting tanked in every game, which is something at least. So we'll have to see what happens in the next few weeks.
Yeah, they still have Meath, Cavan, and Roscommon still to come at home. So there could be the potential maybe there for something as well. And actually, that Roscommon game is the last game of the league. Like, who knows? Maybe Roscommon might already be promoted by then, already in a league final. And how often do we see teams rotate and everything else? So, yeah, it's not quite done and dusted just yet. But I do agree with you. It is going to be tough for Westmeath, even still at this moment, to get out of it. Sean says here, Down v Monaghan will be some game. Absolutely, it will be. Yeah, very, very much looking forward to that. Louth, they got beat by Roscommon 115 to 117. One of the more low-scoring games in the end. But Roscommon get the job done. 117 is what they finish with. 2 wins from 2. German Murtha with 6. You had Kieran Murtha with 4 as well. So the Murthas are well and truly integrated back into this Roscommon team. And look, in fairness, we weren't really sure when Louth beat Westmeath. Was it Westmeath being better than we thought? Was it Louth maybe struggling a little bit? Like, the fact that Louth came within 2 of Roscommon, like, although they lost this, and it was played in Drogheda as well, so it's probably, conditions probably maybe weren't the best there for a game of that magnitude. But what were your thoughts on this?
Even look at the Scorpio app, context is probably needed in this as well, and not just looking at the scoreline. You need to kind of look at reports and things like that. In the 68 minutes, Roscommon were 116 to 11 points up when Kieran Murtha kicked that point. So that was still an 8-point margin, and Louth got 1-4 to a point at the end just to make the score look more respectable. Valdetti got a goal in additional time, but look, Louth, I think, will take a 2-point defeat against Roscommon, because Roscommon are looking really, really good at the moment. And Kieran Murtha, German Murtha in particular, looking exquisite under the new rules. They're looking in sharp form. Darrell Craig got a point as well. Donny Smith got 2 points. So there are positives again for Roscommon. Keith Doyle got a brilliant goal as well yesterday. So yeah, some positive things to take from a Roscommon point of view. As for Louth as well, I know, like, Sam Mulroy got 8 points yesterday. Only 1-7 came without Mulroy, and that was mostly freeze from Sam Mulroy, I'd imagine, as well. So there are some negatives in terms of that for Louth. I'm not sure exactly who they play in match day 3, but yeah, the next game's going to be crucial for Louth. And in terms of the promotion challenge, I think Louth will have to. They can't afford to lose 2 or 3 games in terms of getting promoted. Louth. So I think the next few games will be very, very crucial in Louth season in terms of where they will be at the end of it. So good win for Roscommon. That game in 2 weeks' time against Monaghan looks like a promotion decider already. Whoever wins that, I think, is on the right road to go up to Division 1 and look almost certain to go up to Division 1. And Roscommon are at home. So I think they'll be very, very confident in getting the job done in that game, and we'll see what happens there. But as for Louth, I think they probably need a win just to get back up the horse in 2 weeks' time.
Absolutely, yeah. Just looking at their Louth of Cavan away next, and Cavan obviously aren't in a good moment themselves. They actually played down at home after that, so yeah, they're definitely still very much in it. And Louth GA fan 57 here says Louth were missing the best part of 10 players yesterday, and Craig Lennon went off injured after 2 or 3 minutes. We also had 1 debutant and 5 from last year's under-20s on the field during the game. And he also says here we will have a massive say in this division yet. Absolutely, yeah. Like, and there is some kind of names in there when you look at the Louth team, you know, and match reports and everything else that probably don't stand out. So, yeah, you know, the fact you know, obviously had a great year with the under-20s last year, beating the likes of Dublin and whatnot. So there are some, there definitely are some good positives for Louth just yet. Meath, they beat Cavan 321 to 20 points. Very, very good win and response by Meath. As we were saying, like, they lost to Cork last week, but I don't think it was all doom and gloom, in all honesty, because, you know, they create so many chances, and you felt like if they can continue that kind of level of chance creation, they should be fine against a Cavan team who got beat relatively comfortably by Monaghan. And that was the case. Comfortable day at the office for Meath, and you'd have to say it's it might be tough for Cavan to survive in this division.
I think it will be, yeah. And even look at Scorpio app there on 61 minutes when Gerard Morris hit the back of the net. It was 320 to 17 points, and Cavan looked well out of it at that stage. So, yeah, I think Cavan, and I did say this in my Division 2 predictions, I said Cavan will get 7th. And I just felt like without Paddy Lynch in the team, yes, Gareth McKiernan and Darrell Lovett got 15 points between them. But even when you take those two guys out, they got 5 points. That's not, it's not great from a Cavan point of view. They are, I think, in trouble in going down, especially the fact they have Westmeath away. Like, that's all of a sudden looking like doom and gloom for Cavan, in all honesty, because Westmeath would be targeting that game, looking at the first 2 games and thinking, we're at home in this one. Cavan are struggling. We could easily get a win here. So, it's going to be difficult for Cavan to get themselves out of the hole, and maybe they're trying to get used to the new rules. It'd be very interesting to see that kind of point. But as for me, I saw some bright shoots, in fairness, in Páirc Uí Chaoimh match. They won, this got 40 shots away against Cork. They were very, very positive in their play, and the shooting worked in this game. Like, they scored some 3 great goals in this one. Jordan Morris has now scored, I think, is 1-7 for play in the whole Alliance League so far, one of the top scorers for play. Deserves a lot of credit for getting all those scores. Owen Frayne got 8 points in this game as well. Macho Costello actually didn't play in this one, which it might be a concern for me. Actually, they didn't play, so he didn't play any part in this one, actually. So, but then again, they still have other players to step up, like the likes of Morris, the likes of Shane Walsh got in among the score sheet. Owen Frayne, Brian Menton, the experienced player that he is. Jack Flynn, I thought was very good against Cork in match day 1, and is a very commanding presence in midfield as well. So, Meath have some positive shoots, and I think they'll be serious in terms of the promotion conversation as well. A lot of people are saying that they're in that as well. So yeah, it'd be very interesting to see Meath in the next few weeks. They 2 good performances under their belt. I know they got the loss against Cork, but like, that could happen to anybody in Division 2. It is what it is. But to get that result against Cavan, to get back up in the horse, that's a very good result for them. And I think I thought Meath would finish about 5th or 6th at the start of the league campaign. They could be pushing up higher looking at that result. That was a very good win for them.
Yeah, absolutely, it was, and it is very exciting. Like, especially looking at the you know, the league table and everything else, which we'll throw up on the screen in a few. But yeah, I think it's wide open. There's a lot of teams that are in the mix, and a lot of the divisions seem very evenly balanced. So yeah, definitely positive signs for Meath there. Patrick says if Cork beat Westmeath, promotion is on. Marty says jammy down as usual. Patrick says Roscommon v Monaghan, either one of will drop points. Cork could be right behind them. Yeah, like, it does feel like the head-to-head as well is going to be very important here. You know, the head-to-head rule and everything else, so that could be huge. But you could have a scenario where 3 teams finish on the same amount of points, and then obviously it goes down to the points difference. Sarah Nash says here, Cork had too many wides. This could have been 2 points, etc. Yeah, but look at it. It is a fair point. Well, actually, you were at the game, so what did you think? Did Cork have too many wides maybe in the game?
Maybe too many, especially in the first half. I think they had 6 in the first half off the top of my head. They missed a few shots. Amazingly, actually, in the first half, we got 1-11, but we got 1 goal, 1 1-pointer, and 5 2-pointers. So we showed we could kick. Without a doubt, Roy Maguire kicked a beauty. Sean McDonald really showed well from Mallow in the corner forward position and struggled in the first game. But look, there is some bright shoots. But yeah, we shot well against Meath with 79% shot accuracy. We didn't do so yesterday against Down, but that happens. that's a game of football. That happens, so it's all about the reaction now against Westmeath. If they could get a win there, we're right back in the hunt, and we'll be among the coattails of Monaghan. Maybe not Roscommon. I think Roscommon might be miles ahead of nearly everybody else, but we'll have to see in the next few weeks. It will be very interesting. But not just Cork. I think Meath are definitely in the conversation. I think Down are in the conversation. I think Louth are definitely in the conversation as well. So it should be interesting in the next few weeks when what happens.
Yeah, just looking at the Division 2 table, and we will get the Division 1 table up a little bit later on. But Monaghan and Roscommon both sitting there with 4 points. Meath, Cork, Louth and Down all there with 2 points. And Westmeath and Cavan both down there at the bottom. So it does look like Westmeath and Cavan could potentially get cut away a little bit there, especially when you look at the next couple of games. But yeah, moving on to Division 3 then. We'll start off by having a look at Sligo versus Kildare. So Sligo 13 points, Kildare 16. Look, Sligo I think would be happy enough to make this game a little bit more competitive. Like Kildare scored I think 1-2 in the final couple of minutes to seal the win. So it was very, very close going down the home stretch, in fairness. But yeah, big win for Kildare. Like, this is the type of game that last year they probably would have lost if we're being honest.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I think Brian Flanagan is building something in Kildare at the moment. Like, they looked really, really good yesterday. Ryan Sinky again was very good for a young player. Derek Huron as well, 1-5-8. And I think all those from play, correct me if I'm wrong now, Aaron, but that was an exceptional tally, you have to say, from the Naceman. Alex Byrne performed well as well, and they're integrating the under-20s. Brian Flanagan seems to be getting a tune out of it. I think the only negative is the stuff that went on with Kevin O'Callaghan. I don't know, did you see that article in the Mirror from Paul Dollery during the week? Big concerning considering Kevin O'Callaghan's given a lot of service to Kildare, but like on the pitch, they look really, really good, Kildare. They put away Fermanagh really, really easy on match day one at Sligo. Pretty easily in this game too. 6 points, like that's a pretty comprehensive margin. I know 3 pointers and the whole game changes in a way in this new age of Gaelic football, but 2 comprehensive enough wins. I think Brian Flanagan will be happy with that. And as you said there, it would have been the game that Kildare would have probably lost last season, like the game against Laois in the Tailteann Cup quarter final. But the main thing is they got over the line. They look really, really positive at the moment, and they look like they have a one-way ticket to Division 2. But the Kevin O'Callaghan stuff, I wanted to get your thoughts on that, Aaron. What do you think about it all? Apparently being dropped from the panel because of social media presence.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I think Kildare have had a bit of a player power kind of culture problem in the last couple of years from what a lot of people have kind of mentioned. There has been a lot of players who've probably been too dominant in how things go there. We're seeing a lot of more senior players leaving the Kildare team. We're seeing more younger players now coming in. So no, I'd probably trust Brian Flanagan's judgment on this one, to be honest with you. I think there's probably more to it. I don't think it's just down to social media presence. I think there's probably a lot more to that, in my opinion. Is it attitude, training, turning up for training sessions, being late, all that kind of stuff. So I think there's a lot more that goes into it. But look, if Kildare keep winning and they keep getting the results, then at the end of the day, people are going to look at that as the right decision. And we know Kildare definitely did have problems last year because a lot of their more senior players weren't performing. And you would see players come in and out, like Daniel Flynn would be back for a couple of games, wouldn't start, would come on in games, then would start, then would kind of go missing for a while. You had that with a lot of players, like Jimmy Hoyland being there for a couple of years. Then, obviously he had injury problems. So, you're having kind of ups and downs with Kildare a lot of the time. So I think for Brian Flanagan, he definitely does need to find his own team and kind of do things his own way. Moving on from that, Patrick says Mickey Hart could get promoted. Well, it's going well at the moment. They beat Laois 2-19 to 1-17. Another big win for Offaly, back-to-back wins. And Mickey Hart's at the wheel here.
Yeah, it looks really, really positive from an Offaly point of view. And as I mentioned beforehand, Jack Bryant, Cormac Egan, Keith O'Neill in particular, have really done well under the new rules. So is Dylan Hyland. Jordan Hayes got 1-1 yesterday, like a very good display from him. And Paddy Dunnican has almost like been a man that wants to stake his claim. A goal from play Have you ever seen that from a goalkeeper? Well, we seen with Rafferty last year, but to be honest, that Armagh goal was a fluke. I see the clip of the Paddy Donegal goal. It was a well-taken finish into the top corner. I don't know, you'd see it on awfully GAR, and it was a very, very good goal from the goalkeeper. So, good display from Offaly overall. Laois, look, I just think Offaly are just better players than Laois at this present moment in time. Laois have a lot of injury issues, a lot of players stepping away from the panel. It might be a transitional period at this stage for Justin McNulty. But as for Offaly, to beat your rivals in that kind of margin, to be on 4 points, they're finally getting the fruit out of potential now. Who's to say, like Mickey Hart is getting something out of these players. He's a miracle worker, so we'll have to see what happens in the next few weeks. So, yeah, I think Offaly supporters will be absolutely delighted with this win, and they're on the up.
Yeah, Sarah Nash says, do you think 2 points from a free should be taken away at the end of the Cork versus Down game? Felt this was quite harsh. Yes, it's a free, but does the FRC rules need tweaked? I mean, yeah, we were kind of mentioning that a little bit earlier. What would be your take on that?
Then one of the comments said that there'll be a lot of fouling outside the arc then. So
yeah.
It's a difficult one. It really is. Unless there's kind of a counter argument to it, I think a 2 point for free is here to stay. Unfortunately, so not unfortunately. We're getting muddled with the words now tonight, but yeah, we'll see over the next few weeks how it develops, and if it becomes a serious problem, then it might need fixing.
Yeah, Liam says here as well, Offaly were 2-18 to 1-9 up with a few minutes to go. Like from kind of keeping an eye at the score, like on the scoreline in real time, it did feel very, comfortable enough. Laois, I suppose, showed a bit of fight at the end, which will bode a little bit more positivity for them, given like a lot of players that have left their team. So that will give them a little bit of hope maybe in this year. Mikey says Offaly for promotion. I think promotion looking very, very likely potentially there. You had Fermanagh who beat Antrim 2-16 to 3-12, getting over the line there in the end. What were your thoughts on this?
Yeah, good win for Fermanagh. Garvin Jones got 1-7 and Conor Love got 1-1. And apparently Antrim looked at periods in this game where they were going to get over the line. But I think this is a crucial game for Fermanagh to win, especially after losing the first game out there, the bashing that they did. So to win this game by a point, 2 points, anything, I think they'd be just delighted to get over the line, especially with the bad record that they had against Antrim over the last few seasons. So I think they'd be delighted just to get the win on the board there. And the relegation worries for Fermanagh are eased, but as for Antrim, they're probably right back in the relegation conversation now.
Yeah, like from keeping an eye on this, I think Antrim were leading at half time, or there was definitely moments in the game they were leading, so they will be disappointed in the end to have lost the game. But as you said, great response there by Fermanagh. Cleared a very comfortable win versus Leitrim, 2-17 to 10 points. One of the most one-sided games of the weekend, that must be said. Great response from Clare after losing to Antrim last week. And I suppose worrying signs for Leitrim, and like a lot of us probably did expect Leitrim to go down, but this was very comfortable, really.
And the fact that Leitrim only got 10 one-pointers in this one, they didn't even get a 2-pointer, and they were very reliant on the main players of that Leitrim team as well, which is concerning. Ike Muguero and Adam Sweeney got the goals for Clare from wing-back, which is a positive for them. And Owen Cleary got 6 points on his return to the Clare team. I know he returned for the game against Antrim, but that's a positive for Peter Keane's side. And after the defeat to Antrim, it was just about getting over the line this game. And to be honest, they did it with aplomb. A very good display against a Leitrim side, I think, are on a one-way ticket back to Division 4.
Absolutely. Moving on to Division 4. Or before we do that, we'll just have a look at the Division 3 table. So Kildare and Offaly, both with 4 points there. Clare, Antrim, and Fermanagh are all there with 2 points. And as we were saying, Laois, Sligo, and Leitrim all there with 0 points, albeit Laois and Leitrim have only played one game. Moving on to Division 4, have to start with London, who beat Wicklow 120 to 21 points. Definitely a standout result here when you saw it coming in. I mean, considering the progress that Wicklow had made last year, beating the likes of Westmeath, nearly beating Kildare. They were narrowly relegated last year. Felt like they were surely going to be one of the front runners here. And it's kind of hard to know. We didn't really get to see any of this game last night, to be honest. But I mean, looking at it from a London perspective, this is an enormous win, it must be said.
Big win, yeah. And Sean Tucker that got the decisive goal in this game for London. Really good, a really good win for Michael Maher's side, obviously. And for Wicklow, it's concerning for Oisin McConville, especially with the likes of Wexford performing well. We got the Wexford in a sec, getting 2 wins out of 2. Especially with their game being called off against Waterford. Wicklow, it is concerning that their first game ended up in a defeat, and yeah, it was really. I know they scored 21 points, and in any game that would probably constitute a winning performance for Wicklow. But yeah, a very good win for London. I think they're probably not going to go up this season, but a good confidence booster to get even before they get into the championship kind of mindset. And a very good win for London overall. And I think they'll be absolutely delighted with the victory. And yeah, it was a difficult defeat to take for Wicklow. And that might be the results that has the nail in the coffin on their promotion charge. That game against Limerick, I think, whenever that game is, I think that'll be very, very interesting to see who gets second to Division 4. Or potentially it could be another team like a London or a Tipperary who might rise up through the ashes and join Wexford in Division 3.
Yeah, absolutely. No, an enormous win for London. And like, to be fair, Michael Maher's done a Trojan of work there with London football, obviously, down the years. And for them to pull off this victory, absolutely huge. And look, who knows, maybe London can go on a bit of a promotion charge. And what a story that would be. And I think we'd all very much be behind that. Limerick 13 points, Wexford 17. Wexford in the end pulling away late on. Big win for Wexford when you think about it. These, last year when they didn't get promoted, it was because they lost to teams who were also in the promotion race. So an enormous win here for the Wexicans.
Yeah, brilliant win for them. Obviously, Sean Nolan got 8 points in this one. I think that's 16 points in 2 games from him. So he's really excelling under the new rules. Park Hughes is as well with 3 points. I think that's about 5 or 6 points in 2 games for him as well from centre back. So very good display from Wexford, and to win in Rockhill against one of your promotion rivals, that's an excellent victory to get, in fairness to them. So yeah, very, very good win for Wexford, and I think they are looking really, really strong in getting promoted to Division 3 finally after a few years of attempting.
Yeah, and you had Tipperary then, who got the better of Longford 3-13 to 1-18 in the end. As you were saying, like a bit of drama and everything, obviously, towards the end of the game with Mark Russell scoring a big 2-pointer there. But yeah, massive result for Tipperary and for Longford. Disappointing.
Disappointing for Longford, yeah, and especially after the bright shoots that players like Owen Kenny and Matthew Kerry have showed in the last few weeks. They showed that they do have some very good forwards in their panel, but Mark Russell, what a man. He came up big at the end with a massive 2-pointer and gets Tipperary to win. And Tipperary football has been on a low ebb over the last few years, and I think we've talked about it in depth and podcasts down through the years as well. But to find players like Mark Russell, like Sean O'Connor, like Luke Boland at centre back, like there are some positive shoots with this Tipperary team. And Philly Ryan seems to be getting a good start on this Tipperary team, especially with the way Paul Kelly performed as manager last season for Tipperary. So yeah, I think there's positives for Tipperary. 3 points out of 4, a draw away to Carlow to add to their win against Longford in this one in Clonmel. So I think it's positive for Tipperary considering where they have been over the last few seasons.
Yeah, there was a comment here earlier from Just Greed here who says, was listening to Limerick versus Wexford on the radio. Wexford won by being better under the kickouts for Division 3 and 4, as well as the Tailteann Cup. Having good fielders will be most of the battle. That is a fair point in fairness. And then the last game to look at here, Waterford 12 points, Carlow 2-15. Probably an expected win, if we're being honest here.
Yeah, I expected. I expected actually Waterford to win during the week. I felt like Waterford at home would get a win under their belts. Like they have to, like Alan Dunwoody, he did perform well in this game. In fairness, Queeving Walsh and Sean Walsh and all them, I thought Waterford would have the players to maybe rise up the profile of Waterford football, especially after the positivity from last season. But Carlow, in fairness to Shane K. Curran, 3 points out of 4 games, a draw against Tipperary, which was almost like a point dropped in many ways to get the win. I think they'll be happy enough to get the win in this one. Ross Dunphy got 1-2, Kevin Murphy got the other goal, Darragh O'Brien got 5 points, Conor Doyle got 4 points as well. So yeah, I think Carlo and Shane Carter would be happy with the win, and they could be in the promotion charge as well by the end of the league campaign. They just have to keep more consistent. So I know there was a stage last season in match day 3 or match day 4, maybe even 5, where Carlo looked like serious promotion contenders. Then they get hammered by Wexford, I remember, last season, and the whole thing falls apart. So it's important for Carlo just to keep the feet on the ground and get a bit of consistency going if they are to mount a promotion challenge.
Absolutely. Ciaran Ash says here, Matt, how far they've fallen since 2016. Tipperary. PFC says here, we hate Bowden up the Plunkets. Yeah, to be fair, I'm actually not a Bowden man. I just have that jersey hanging up in the back. But yeah, maybe we do need to change that, to be fair, because a lot of people probably do think I am a Ballybowden man when I'm actually not, in fairness. Mikey says after winning Munster title in 2020, they've fallen off a cliff, but they have shown signs of picking themselves back up this year. And Ciaran Ash says, who thought Carlo would beat Waterford in both codes? Yeah, that is it's a very good point, in fairness. But yeah, we certainly will get back to discussing the hurling at some point. Just been a busy man recently. But yeah, looking at the Division 4 table, then we've got Wexford sitting there, lovely, with 4 points, 2 wins from 2. Carlow, Tipperary both with 3. London with 2 points and 4th. Longford and Limerick both 5th and 6th with a point. And Wicklow and Waterford down there in the bottom 2. I will throw the Division 1 table up on the screen as well, because I think we missed that earlier. Galway sitting on top with 4 points. You've got, I mean, look at that, Donegal, Kerry, Armagh, Tyrone and Dublin, all with 2 points there. So even though things have been bleak for both Derry and Mayo, like a win next week, or not next week, obviously in 2 weeks' time, all of a sudden, things could be very different. But yeah, look, that very much wraps it up in terms of player of the week and moment of the week. What are we thinking?
Player of the week, I'd probably have to go with Shane Walsh. 9 points, most of the 2-pointers. Like, the guy was like a man possessed on that game against Mayo, so I have to go for him. Moment of the week, interesting one. If you could count hurling, I guess Carlo beating Waterford is a big one. It's a big one for just the community of Carlo, just to beat a Waterford team. And just on a side note, that's worrying for Waterford hurling if they are to get beat in Munster Championships, if they are losing sides like Carlo, no disrespect. But yeah, it's a very good win for Carlo. There are 3 points on the board in the hurling league. And they look, it's all positive for Carlo GA at the moment. So that'll probably be my moment of the week.
Yeah, I probably agree with that. I think in terms of player of the week, it is probably hard to look past a Shane Walsh. In fairness, though, I thought Ross McQuillan was very good for Armagh. Greg McCabe as well, really stood out. In terms of moment of the week, I probably would go for that Paddy Dunnican goal, to be fair, to run all the way up and score a goal like that. But as you said in the hurling, like that was that was incredible, in fairness. But look, it is just hurling, I think, next week. So we will definitely, I think there's a few football games, the postponed matches, but we will be discussing the hurling a little bit more later in the week and discuss everything that's going to happen so far and try and get back on the board there in terms of some hurling content on the channel. Big shout out to Matthew from the Gaelic Statsman podcast and the Southern Star, of course, as well. So make sure to check out both of them when you get a chance. And until the next one, we will catch you all soon.